Hi everyone, welcome to a new video series on Taff's Exile Extra. Something very different this time from the last Deliver Us the Moon. This time we are going to look at the original Man on the Run thriller. It was a book written by John Buchan, which later went on to inspire Ian Fleming's writing of James Bond, apparently. It's to be transported back to 1914 London, where Richard Hannay finds himself framed for a murder he did not commit. Now he must escape the capital and stay alive long enough to solve the riddle of the 39 Steps. Yes, the 39 Steps, a fantastic story. I love the movie with Robert Powell in it. Childhood favourite. Now this is going to be it's almost like a interactive novel as we work our way through the story, uncovering the plot, uncovering all the motives and sinister doings in the background to unlock the plot of the 39 Steps. As per the book and the movie, I'm expecting this to have a very slow start, but should pick up mid to late of the game. It does in the movie and the book. So sit back, enjoy, and we'll take a step into the 39 Steps. "39 Steps is a largely pointer-free experience, okay? But when you see one, that's your cue to interact, okay? So it is an interactive storytelling for sure. So here we go, let's head to the apartment. This is a little tutorial to begin with. Same locations can be explored. Some locations can be explored. Good start, isn't it? When in explore mode, you can click and drag the mouse to look around. Okay. You can also interact with glowing objects. Lovely, right. Oh, yes, we can, look. Okay, so can we interact with the map? No. I suppose the only glowing object is the letter here. Oh, I see. We can zoom in. Okay, so to Mr. Hannay from Bennings Bank. Welcome to England. I hope your journey from Rhodesia was not too arduous. Would you like to come into the bank and we can discuss matters regarding your Rhodesian mining shares? If you could please make an appointment with my clerk, Mr. Scoop, on Temple 6733. Yours sincerely, Mr. Edward Ainsley, manager of the bank. Okay. Anything else? No? Nothing sinister? Am I looking too much into it? No, I think we're good. I want to have a look at the picture of the dog. Anyway, we're done. Congratulations, you made it through the short tutorial. That was a short tutorial. I've been given an award for your efforts. There are 50 more of these to collect. Don't worry. Wonderful. Just a little achievement, I believe. This will begin the journey with 39 steps. All progress will be auto-saved, but you can also use bookmarks to manage your progress and visit key scenes. Okay. That brings us to the first act. Oh, I suppose it's done in acts or chapters. The Wrong Ditch. Richard Hannay is living in London, England. He yearns for more interesting life. The Wrong Ditch. Monday, 18th of May, 1914, London, England. Hear Big Ben chiming. It's raining. It's grey. Yep, that's London. I returned from the city on that May afternoon, pretty well disgusted with life. I had been 3 months in the old country, and I was fed up with it. Oh, it's a nice apartment. Oh, it's not an apartment. There's lots of noise.
Richard Hannay, you have got into the wrong ditch, my friend, and you had better climb out.
Richard Hannay. The present, the child's. My father had brought me out from Scotland to South Africa at the age of 6. Oh, okay. And I had never been home since. I grew up in the Cape Colony, which was then under British rule. Ah, we're learning about our history. Okay. Mr. Hannay. Okay. The teenager. I spent much of my time in the Zambezi where I would fish. There are several hundred species in its water, including the infamous tigerfish and Zambezi shark. Ooh. The wide open spaces of the veld also interest me greatly, and the various methods of survival in such an uncompromising landscape. So he's got good survival skills by the sounds of things. As a working man, I had earned my pile. Not one of the big ones, but good enough for me. I had put in 3 years prospecting for copper in the German Dharma land and spoke the German tongue pretty fluently. I went on to become mining engineer with the Kimberley, where I was instrumental to the formation of the De Beers Consolidated Mines. The diamond mines were a rough business, but countless good men lost on horrific accidents. The soldier. I served the British forces during the Matabele conflict and was decorated for my role. I served 2 years with the Imperial Light Horse and was an intelligence officer at Delagoa Bay in the Second Boer War. I lost many friends during those wars. Ah, okay, so he's loyal to England, which is good. My final years in Africa were in the municipality of Bulawayo. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. Where I fought during the Matabele War. I resided once again with my father, who had taken ill. After he died, I decided to leave the Cape and head back to the old country. And in the present, a lot of imperialist ladies asked me to tea to meet schoolmasters from New Zealand and editors from Vancouver. And that was one of the most dismal businesses of all. I had no real pal to go about with, which probably explains things. Plenty of people invited me to their homes, but they didn't seem interested in me. I had counted on stopping in London for the rest of my days, but from the first I was disappointed with it. That's London. I was the best bored man in England. Right, cool. We know where we are, where we sit. Here was I, 37 years old, sound in wind and limb. I've never heard that. Sound in wind and limb. I guess that means, you know, your legs and your arms are good and your lungs are good. Could mean something else. With enough money to have a good time, yawning my head off all day. I had a long drink and read the evening newspapers. They were full of the row in the Near East, and there was an article about Karolides, the Greek premier. From all accounts, he seemed the one big man in the show, and he played a straight game too, which is more than could be said for the most of them. Aye. Politicians. Right. I was going to pick up my scotch, whatever that was then. As I said, expect a slow start. The story does start slowly. Then things escalate quickly. Especially when we're on the run. Someone had loaded the cylinder player. I felt a deep nostalgia for my homeland of Scotland as Annie Laurie filled the room. Oh, right. Oh, we're in the Colonial Club. Near the fireplace. Obviously we're near the fireplace. Oh my god, you can literally click on anything. Our Empire at Home and Abroad. We can read these books, can we? Numerous important and intensively interesting chapter of British history can be furnished in the Great War of South Africa, which resulted in the annexation of the two Boer republics of the British colonial empire. Our military institutions and resources, our national and imperial spirit, and our commercial marine have been subjected to severe tests, and from that trial they have emerged, not for the first time in our records, in the splendour of victory and success. Wow, lovely. Lovely. Get all nostalgic. I'm not sure why we got the map here. So we're looking at what's still left of the British Empire. 1914. Yeah, it's before the Commonwealth, wasn't it? Yeah, tear in my eye. Very nostalgic. Okay, not much to look. We got the glowing newspaper here. What can we suss from what's going on? Buy some furs in Dover Street. There's a sinding exhibition. I don't know what sinding is. At Harrods. Wow. Coventry Restaurant and Grill. Bohemia Restaurant. Is there something in here I'm supposed to notice? Cocktails ready for use. Hooray! Don't know. Can we turn the page? What's that one there? There we go. The Observer. Don't want to go quite that close. Fashions for men. Big flying races. News of the Navy. What is news of the Navy? Bristol to Mexico. I don't think there's much in there. I think it's probably just getting used to everything. Anything else going on? Card table over here. Ooh, what's this? Right, the British Informer. Tension in the Near East. Balkan appears test Europe. Affairs. My goodness me. They look like peas. Albanian uprising. Peasants revolt. He sees, he reasons, he buys. It's affordable. It's a better car. It costs less to buy and less to maintain. It's the one car I need. I'll buy it. Brilliant. That's how it works. Karolides keeps strong. Ah, here we go. So this is Karolides. This is the Greek Prime Minister then. Which was being mentioned. Karolides is hostile to military operations and remains outwardly committed to the resolution of the Greek Ottoman... what does that say? Tenations? Tensions. The Porte has recently reiterated its commitment to defend its remaining Aegean holdings at all costs. Karolides' famously strong nerve may yet be tested again. Right. Feels like war's brewing. Empire celebrations ahoy. Fantastic news. Alloa warns of German menace. British Navy must grow. Lord Alloa, first Sea Lord of the British Navy, has again warned of the growing menace of German naval power in the Baltic and North Sea regions. Is that a typo? Alloa expressed this regarding the ongoing widening of the Kiel Canal and the completion of the new naval base in Heligoland in the North Sea. Next month, German dreadnoughts will be able to sail between the Baltic and North Seas in hours, the Lord warns. Combined with the new Heligoland base, I have advised Her Majesty's government that our eastern cities would become a target in the event of any future conflict between the Germans and ourselves. Lord Alloa also spoke of the British plans to expand naval capacity to match the work of the Germans. The new battleship HMS Caroline is due to be launched next week and expected to head the new Grand Fleet in Orkney. Relations with the Kaiser's government deteriorated in April with the arrest of 4 German nationals on allegations of espionage against the Crown. The Foreign Office is understood to be concerned about further networks of German spies operating in the heart of Britain. seeking to undermine the nation's defence. Okay, we also have like a little pouch or something. Presented to Richard Hannay, Intelligence Officer, Matabele War, 1897, Soldier of the British Empire. Nice. Okay. I think we're done there. That's just a bit of background information on ourselves and the state of play of the tensions in Europe. About 6 o'clock I went home. So we left the club in St James's Square, proceeded north to New Cavendish Street. My flat was the first floor in the new block behind Langham Place. Ooh, very nice. There was no restaurant or anything of that sort. And each flat was quite shut off from the others. It's exactly how you want it, isn't it? Got an elevator and stairs. But I guess we can check our mail before we go. Richard Hannay. Can we look at anyone else's? No, okay, we'll look at ours. Richard. How's London? I do hope... Looks like Paddock is looking after you well. Let's go text. There we go. Dear Richard, how is London? I do hope Paddock... Oh, it is Paddock. Is looking after you well. And that your luck with the horses is lasting out. 10 to 1 it is. Now there's a tale for you. Last month in the Kalahari, I found myself in a tight spot. After 2 days on the plane, I lost my way and could not find the river. I was forced to go without water for 3 days. And 5 without a morsel of food, save for a few mopane worms. Ugh. Excellent source of protein, which steered me away from starvation, I guess. Then I ran into an old chief whom I owed money. Because of my debt, he refused to help me, so I had to continue on my feet. The desert is not kind to any man, but I made it out. And a man in Tanganyika sold me a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which will be my partner from future hunts. I have named the animal Shaka after the old Zulu chief, and will take him to the Congo with me, where I will go for the elephants. I plan to leave next week if I can get my new rifle finished in time. Yours, Peter Pina. No idea. He's obviously a close friend. Lovely. Good to hear from Peter. Interesting way of getting in the interacting with the doors.
Paddock, that's me home. I'll be heading out for dinner.
He's obviously our manservant, Paddock. We're heading out for dinner. Nice. I hate servants on the premises, so I had a fellow to look after me who came in by the day. He arrived before 8 o'clock every morning and used to depart at 7. For I never dined at home. Oh. Nice to have the money. That evening I dined at the Cafe Royal and then headed elsewhere for entertainment. Where are we going for entertainment? Leicester Square. Alhambra. An evening's entertainment. Leicester Square or the music halls? Well, we're in Leicester Square, so we'll go to Leicester Square. On this particular evening, I wandered to the Leicester Square, where the more resplendent theatres of varieties could be found. A show at the Alhambra caught my eye, though I could never quite be sure of the act until it had been seen. The countless music halls of London were one way of passing an evening away. Farces of all styles played in conspicuous parts of the week's bill. It was a silly show. I did not stay long. He really seems down, doesn't he? On the way home, I gave half a crown to a beggar because I saw him yawn. He was a fellow sufferer. Insomnia, is it? I made a vow. I would give the old country another day to fit me into something. If nothing happened, I would take the next boat for the Cape. An unlikely visit. Monday, 18th of May 1914, Wimpole Street, London. Evening of. So we're back at our apartment. As I say, the first act is just to set the scene. The door is open and slammed shut. Head back into our apartment.
Hey, can I speak to you? May I come in for a minute?
I recognised him as the occupant of a flat on the top floor, with whom I had passed the time of day on the stairs. He was slim, with a short brown beard and small, gimlety blue eyes. His hand was pouring out my arm. I motioned him in. No sooner was he over the threshold than he made a dash for my back room, where I used to smoke and write my letters. Then he bolted back.
Is the door locked?
Pouring a nice drink, he filled himself with a stiff whiskey and soda and drank it off in 3 gulps. I sat down in an armchair and lit my pipe. I was pretty certain that I had to deal with a madman. Just what you need on a Monday evening.
I'm very sorry. It's a mighty liberty, but you look like the kind of man who would understand. I've had you in my mind all this week when things got troublesome. Say, will you do me a good turn?
I'll listen to you. That's all I'll promise.
Pardon. I'm a bit rattled tonight. You see, I happen at this moment to be dead.
What does it feel like?
A smile flickered over his drawn face.
I'm not mad. Yet. Say, sir, I've been watching you, and I reckon you're a cool customer. I reckon, too, you're an honest man and not afraid of playing a bold hand. I'm gonna confide in you. I need help worse than any man ever needed it. I want to know if I can count you in.
Get on with your yarn and I'll tell you.
Oh, here we go. The Querist Rigmarole. Franklin P. Scudder was, oh god, after college being pretty well off, he started out to see the world. He's American. And went to Portugal, then got the train through Europe to Germany, then down to Greece. Oh, here we go, it's all Greece. He wrote a bit and acted as a war correspondent for the Chicago paper. Tension in the Near East. He had played about with politics, at first for the interest and then because he couldn't help himself. Then he made his discovery. He got a little car and drove to Italy. It's lovely animation. I love it. What did he discover? That is what we need to know. Away behind all the governments and the armies, there was a big subterranean movement, engineered by some very dangerous people. The sort of educated anarchists that make revolutions. And behind them were financiers who were playing for money. They wanted Russia and Germany at loggerheads. Everything would be in the melting pot. The anarchists looked to see a new world emerge, while the capitalists would make fortunes by buying up wreckage. And Scudder had himself convinced that the Jewish men were behind it all. Oh my goodness me.
On the 15th day of June, Constantine Karolides is coming to this city. The British Foreign Office has taken to having international tea parties, and the biggest of them is due on that date. Now, Karolides is reckoned the principal guest, and if my friends have their way, he will never return to his admiring countrymen.
I sat up for that, for I had been reading about Karolides that very afternoon.
Well, that's simple enough anyhow. You can warn him and keep him at home.
And play their game. If he does not come, they win, for he's the only man that can straighten out the tangle. And if his government are warned, he won't come, for he does not know how big the stakes will be on June the 15th.
I was beginning to get interested in the beggar. So we got less than a month.
What about the British government? They're not going to let their guests be murdered. Tip them the wink, and they'll take extra precautions.
No good. They might stuff your city with plainclothes detectives and double the police. And Constantine would still be a doomed man. He'll be murdered by an Austrian. And there'll be plenty of evidence to show the connivance of the big folk in Vienna and Berlin. It will all be an infernal lie, of course, but the case will look black enough to the world. But it's not going to come off if there's a certain man alive right here in London on the 15th day of June. And that man is going to be your servant, Franklin P. Scudder.
Ooh. I was beginning to like the little chap. His jaw had shut like a rat trap, and there was a fire of battle in his glimity eyes. Glimity? Glimity eyes. Not heard that word before.
Where did you find out this story?
I completed my evidence 10 days ago in Paris. I can't tell you the details now, for it's something of a history. But when I was quite sure in my own mind, I judged it my business to disappear. And I reached this city by a mighty queer circuit. Till yesterday I thought I had muddied my trail some, and was feeling pretty happy. Then...
The recollection seemed to upset him, and he gulped down some more whiskey.
Then I saw a man standing in the street outside this block. I used to stay close in my room all day, and only slip out after dark for an hour or two. I watched him for a bit from my window, and I thought I recognized him. He came in and spoke to the porter. When I came back from my walk last night, I found a card in my letterbox. It bore the name of the man I want least to meet on God's earth.
I think that the look in my companion's eyes, the sheer naked scare on his face, completed my conviction of his honesty.
What did you do next?
I realized I was bottled as sure as a pickled herring, and that there was only one way out. I had to die. If my pursuers knew I was dead, they would go to sleep again.
How did you manage it?
How Scudder died. Step 1. Okay. I told the man who valeted me that I was feeling pretty bad and got myself up to look like death. That wasn't difficult, for I am no slack at disguises. Step 2. Then I got a corpse. You can always get a body in London if you know where to go for it. Is that right? Okay. I fetched it back in the trunk and on the top of the four-wheeler, and I had to be assisted upstairs to my room. Step 3. I had to pile up evidence for the inquest, so I went to bed and got my man to mix me a sleeping draught, and then I told him to clear out. He wanted to fetch me a doctor, but I swore some and said I couldn't abide leeches. I think medicine had moved on a little bit since then. Step 4. When I was left alone, I started to fake up the corpse. He was my size, and I judged that he perished from too much alcohol, so I put some spirits around the place. The jaw was the weak point in the likeness, so I blew it away with a revolver. I dare say there will be somebody to swear having heard a shot. But there are no neighbours on my floor, so I guess I could risk it. Step 5. I left the body in the bed dressed up in my pyjamas, the revolver lying on the bedclothes and a considerable mess around. Then I got into a suit of clothes. I kept waiting for emergencies. I didn't dare shave for fear of leaving tracks, and besides, it wasn't any kind of use my trying to get into the streets. Oh, goodness me.
I had had you in my mind all day, and there seemed nothing to do but to make an appeal to you. I watched from my window till I saw you come home, and then slipped down the stair to meet you.
He sat, blinking like an owl, fluttering with nerves and desperately determined.
There, sir. I guess you know about as much as me of this business.
Well, well, well. I was now pretty well convinced that he was going straight with me. It was the wildest sort of narrative, but I'd heard it in my time many steep tales which had turned out to be true. And if he wanted to get a location in my flat and then cut my throat, he would have pitched a milder yarn. That's very true. I.e., he would have told a less dramatic story.
Hand me your key, and I'll take a look at the corpse. Excuse my caution, but I'm bound to verify a bit if I can.
I reckon you'd ask for that. But I haven't got it. It's on my chain on the dressing table. I had to leave it behind, for I couldn't leave any clues to breed suspicions.
Makes
The
sense.
gentry who are after me are pretty bright-eyed citizens. You'll have to take me on trust for the night, and tomorrow you'll get the proof of the corpse business right enough.
I thought for an instant or two.
Right. I'll trust you for the night. I'll lock you into this room and keep the key. Just one word, Mr. Scudder. I believe you're straight. But if so be you are not, I should warn you that I'm a handy man with a gun.
I haven't the privilege of your name, sir, but let me tell you that you're a true gentleman. Now, I'll thank you to lend me a razor.
I took him into my bedroom and turned him loose. In half an hour's time, a figure came out that I scarcely recognized.
My hat, Mr. Scudder.
A new man. Similarities. Only his gimlety hungry eyes were the same. Okay. Differences then. He was the very model, even to the brown complexion of some British officer who had had a long spell in India. He was shaved clean, his hair was parted in the middle, and he had cut his eyebrows.
Not Mr. Scudder. Captain Theophilus Digby of the 40th Gurkhas. Presently home on leave. I'll thank you to remember that, sir.
Very nice. I made him up a bed in the smoking room and sought my own couch, more cheerful than I had been for the past month. Things did happen occasionally, even in this godforsaken metropolis. And that's where we'll leave it this time, after chapter 3. As I said, it's a slow start, but you can start to see some of the plot building up right now. Scudder is going to be the spark that lights the powder keg. So stand by, get ready, and prepare yourself for the coming story in the 39 steps. I'll continue this next time. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.